In January of 2020, Conor McGregor had a wide vocabulary, but one word in particular that occurred most often was activity. I want activity. Activity is key. I want 4 fights in 2020. Since then, he's had 3 fights. This is Conor McGregor stuck in purgatory. Conor came back looking for consistency, coming off of the loss to Khabib. Almost 3 years later, he would make his triumphant return. And what better way to get back on the horse than against a cowboy? Nothing but cordial in the build-up, but when he got in there, he smoked Cerrone. Broke his orbital with shoulder strikes, something we've never seen before. He looked like an absolute world beater, jump-started a welterweight title run, and seemingly set up a match with Jorge Masvidal. The world was his oyster. The world was no longer his oyster, as it was shut down 2 months later, derailing the momentum of a wide variety of fighters, including the Notorious. Conor had lots of time on his hands, and his fingers were busy typing, calling out Khabib for a rematch and talking trash to anyone and everyone. Kamaru Usman would go on to beat Masvidal via foot stomp, and McGregor had just fought at welterweight and once again used his Twitter to angle for the fight. Conor calls out Khamzat Chimaev on Instagram, calling him a rat lip. Around the time of the Khabib and Gaethje fight, Conor would make some comments about Justin being inbred, and he would also make fun of Khabib's father's death, rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. Again, angling for a fight no matter the outcome. Khabib would go on to retire, which completely ended the possibility of the massive rematch with Conor. It was announced that McGregor would take on Poirier, a rematch of their 2014 bout that catapulted Conor McGregor into the upper echelon of the featherweight division. Except this time, something was different. Conor had glasses and no hair, and a brand new attitude. Gone was the Conor of old, in complete contrast to the McGregor who fought Poirier the first time. In the lead up to the fight, Conor was very cordial, pledging a donation to Dustin's charity. It seemed as though Conor had turned over a new leaf. UFC 257 was a very notable event. We had the debut of Iron Michael Chandler, where he landed a spectacular lead hook to put Dan Hooker out cold in the first round. He'll be pretty important later. We also had the first knockout loss of Conor McGregor's career. Poirier had the perfect game plan to counter a flat-footed, boxing-heavy McGregor, the calf kick, a weapon that had been around for quite some time, but had never been used to such great effect. Tied at 1 apiece, Conor called for a trilogy bout. Dustin wanted to move into a title fight, but the red panty night was just a bit too tantalizing. McGregor never donated to Poirier's charity, and in the lead-up to the fight, Conor looked like the man he had been 3 years ago, a brash Irishman with an affinity for mental warfare. But this time, it didn't work. The facade of Conor McGregor had been lifted.
Throwing kicks this time. Yeah, shut your mouth, you little fool. I'm gonna dance on your head. Joe Lee's wife! Joe Lee's wife! Joe Lee's wife! Joe Lee's wife! You little thing. You used to be a lot better than that, man. The trash talk was a lot better than that.
Conor, in the build-up to the last fight, you were unusually kind to Dustin. Now on fight week, it's the exact opposite. So when did that switch happen?
Because he got knocked the out. Not McGregor fast, McGregor sleep.
In all of Conor's UFC losses, his opponent's mental fortitude was the key to victory. Khabib, Diaz, Poirier in the second fight. Conor had lost all of his fire. He let it go in favor of being a better version of himself, and more importantly, a better father. Nothing but professional for Cerrone and Poirier, but you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. In the fight, Conor had adjusted. The calf kicks weren't landing as much, and he threw a couple of his own. He came forward with a very kick-heavy game plan, but as the first round progressed, Poirier began to take over. A poorly timed guillotine attempt would place McGregor on the ground, where he would be controlled by Dustin for most of the round. Both fighters made their way to the feet, where they would have a couple of punching exchanges before the unthinkable would happen. Conor McGregor stepped backwards after throwing a left hand and fractured his tibia and fibula right above his ankle. Both men were still talking shit after the fight. No love lost between these two. One highlight of the aftermath was Conor's dedication to self-promotion. Like, buddy, you're not going to an after party. You're going to an emergency room.
The fight obviously stopped in a horrible way. Give us your thoughts on how it was going.
I was boxing the bleeding head off him, kicking the bleeding leg off him. Usual side dive to close the distance. This is not over. If we had to take this outside with him, it's all outside. We don't give a
He said that he believes that one of the kicks that he checked is what broke your leg.
There was no check. There was not one of them I checked. Your wife is in me DMs, hey baby. Hit me back up, I'll chat to you later on. We'll be at the after party, the Win nightclub, baby. You looking bitch, you little Kim.
Conor, you missed with a punch and stepped back. Tell us what you felt. Tell us what you thought was going on.
Just the thing had separated and my blade landed on the wonky leg like Anderson Silva that time. Something similar to that. It's a mad out business.
Listen, it was a wild fight for as long as it lasted. I'm sure you'll be back, and I'm sure you're going to want Dustin again, and I'm sure he'll oblige you.
In the days and weeks after the fight, people were pretty confident that Conor's return fight would be the quadrilogy with Poirier. But as time moved on and Dustin was booked in a fight against Oliveira, it became increasingly unlikely. We can infer that Conor was going to call out Oliveira based on the Brazilian flag mouthguard, but in some sense, Dustin stole that from him. This would be the beginning of a new chapter in Conor's life. Purgatory. An endless cycle of rumors, call-outs, and profanity, calling people out seemingly at random. Volkanovski, Gaethje, Chandler, Poirier, Oliveira, Diaz, Ferguson, Mayweather, Canelo, Usman, Roman Reigns, True Geordie, KSI, anyone with the tiniest bit of relevance. There was a point in time where others would be angling for a fight with McGregor. Everybody was always looking for the red panty night. It became nauseating over the course of 6 years when he was on top of the sport. But now, McGregor is calling out absolute nobodies, scraping the bottom of the barrel, making empty threats. Swinging at Machine Gun Kelly, an absolute toothpick of a man, couldn't fight his way out of a paper bag. Conor, he's not worth your time. An Italian DJ? Why? His music's probably garbage, but it isn't start a fight levels of bad. In February of 2023, it was announced that Conor McGregor would face off against Michael Chandler. Kinda. They would both coach against one another on The Ultimate Fighter, the show where Conor McGregor gained a large portion of his fame, soundbite after soundbite after soundbite. But then, when the show aired, it was a big old nothing burger. One soundbite. That's it.
What weight it's gonna be? 184.
You wanna do 185, I'll do 185.
Yo, then what y'all told, I'm gonna pin you.
McGregor barely showed up, and when he did, he was mostly apathetic. He had better things to do, like hang out on yachts and film Roadhouse. McGregor's team got blown out. The only reason his team won the bantamweight portion of the competition was because Brad Katona got traded. The entire time, we were waiting for a fight announcement. An announcement that never came. Conor insists on fighting in 2023, but Dana White says he's fighting early next year. He needs to spend 6 months in the USADA testing pool, but things can be arranged, just like how they were arranged for Brock Lesnar at UFC 200. This calendar year is already pretty booked up, and it's obvious that McGregor did some substances to recover from his leg break. So his return will most likely be against Chandler, a man who's finishing up his career and is willing to wait for a massive payday. UFC 296 is in December, so we can use some simple math to find a McGregor return timeline. UFC 300 is probably going to be in April, and it's most likely going to have 3 or maybe even 4 title fights, leaving no room for McGregor. What's up, boys? I'm grinding through post right now, and there's been a couple of very interesting developments since I wrote the script. First up, Conor McGregor is now officially in the USADA testing pool, but also USADA's contract with the UFC expires as soon as the clock ticks over into 2024, which means that Conor might end up fighting earlier than expected. Conor may also end up fighting Gaethje for the BMF belt, so they can technically have a title fight headline UFC 300. But still, Dana is adamant that Chandler is the fight we're getting, so either way, I'm very excited. Let's get on with the rest of the video. Either way, in 2024, we will see the return of the notorious Conor McGregor as he ends his stint in Purgatory in hopes of finding his often elusive activity. If you enjoyed this video, I don't want to like, comment, or subscribe, but I would greatly appreciate a subscribe, comment, and like. In that order, that would be pretty swell. Have a good time.